Hi, everyone. My name is Gloria. I am currently an administrative assistant at Riot Games. I'm specifically assisting the head of creative, and he is basically an advisor to all the creatives at Riot Games, which basically entails about 720 employees within the company. And he is I'm in a really amazing position, especially since I came from the animation industry and coming to the video game industry. It's a great opportunity for me to learn and see everything from a bird's eye view, and just to see like all the moving parts, all the projects that are being developed within the company. And it's a very interesting time for me to be part of the company because Riot Games is now basically classified as an entertainment company rather than a video game company, because they touch on music. They also touch on entertainment, specifically with TV series, Arcade. So that's the big question right now that's happening within Riot. Like, what's next? Like, where are we going from here? And it's opening up a lot of doors potentially in the future, and it's going to be really, really exciting. But before I got to here, I broke into the animation industry in February 2021. My first gig was as a production assistant on SpongeBob, but getting to that point was quite a journey, and I'm very grateful for how I got to this point. So before breaking in, I picked various jobs. I was picking various jobs after graduating from college, some of them being a cast member at Disneyland, a swim instructor, working at a boba cafe, working at a teacher printing shop. And the latest job that I had at that time was at the teacher printing shop for 2 years. But then the pandemic hit and I got laid off. But that was a blessing in disguise because it allowed me to pursue and breaking into the industry in full force. So I was working on my resume a lot, constantly connecting with people, applying to different places, and within like exactly a year, that's when I broke into SpongeBob. And last year of February 2022, I then moved on to Titmouse as a design production coordinator on the Legend of Vox Machina. And that has been one of the most amazing teams that I've been part of. It was such a thrill, and I'm so grateful to have been working on that show. It's been such a ride, and I would do it all over again if I could. But then coming to Riot, that actually was not within my radar at all. Yes, there was Arcade, but then I wasn't sure who to talk to, who to connect with. But then I had a good friend of mine who currently works within the company. She put my name in for a position, and originally it was supposed to be an administrative assistant position for Arcade, but they hired someone internally for that. So I was like, oh, darn. But they had the same title open for the head of creative. And after 2 interviews, they gave me the offer, and I've only been here for about a month now, and I feel I'm so excited to be in this space because I'm learning so much. I'm learning more about gaming industry specifically as well, which is something that I'm not very familiar with. But there's a lot of transferable things from animation to video game, and they kind of go hand in hand in many ways. And just being surrounded by such excellent leadership has been such a rewarding experience for me. And just connecting with people on the daily basis has been something I really enjoy. I'm really passionate about, and just learning how people got to this point. And I'm hoping to continue connecting with people and potentially roll on to a full-time opportunity here, so I can give and invest all my experiences and skills to the company so that I can help make passionate projects like Arcane or anything beyond. But my ultimate goal and what I do within my career is, with animation at its core, animation has brought so much to me. It helped me grow as a person in so many ways that I want to give back to it, and also continue to inspire others in more ways than one to pursue their passion, and also to break into the industry as well.
Yeah, I agree with Kyle. That's really cool. And just seeing like I think your whole mission is very beautiful. It very much aligns with what I want to do. And I appreciate you very much as a fellow um Asian. I do take pride in someone who has like that beautiful journey and then seeing different perspectives. So I'm glad we can have these office hours. Um if anyone has any questions, feel free to say anything or like raise your hand and we'll let you ask any questions you want. Um but for I guess I can answer ask one question where it's like, so going through the path you took and then like going through everything like in terms of like the pandemic, trying to break in, and after this whole emotional journey, is there something that you would have told yourself like when you decided that you wanted to go down this road, like at the very beginning?
Something that I would tell myself back then, it would honestly be just to, because a lot of things I told myself still resonate with me today. I personally don't think I would have changed anything, but the general advice that I constantly gave myself throughout my journey was, stay vigilant, keep pushing forward, keep meeting new people, and just keep going, regardless if you get rejections, because with every rejection, you're getting closer to that acceptance.
That's definitely something that's like yeah, it's one of those things that like I try to preach to myself too, where it's just like it is easier said than done, but like you have to keep believing and just feeling like there's always gonna be something, because I mean you just never know. It could be just like right around the corner, and it's the it's rewarding when it does happen, and we always have to acknowledge those things, those moments. Um,
Yeah, and I also told myself too that things happen for a reason. So I even had instances where I got rejections, or I even had very uneventful interviews where it just didn't lead to anywhere and they didn't value my time. But I'm very grateful that I didn't go in that path, just because if I ended up going that road, I wouldn't have come across SpongeBob. And SpongeBob was a great starting point for me in terms of just learning about the pipeline of animation. It was literally a boot camp, and and the thing too was that I was working on two shows at the same time while I was on that. When I was on that, I was working on the main show and also the spin-off show called the Patrick Star Show. So I was juggling two shows at the same time while still working through the episodic 2D pipeline. So I got so much under my belt, and I'm so grateful for that.
we have a question from Jojo.
Hi, so my question is, what type of difficulty or challenge surprised you that people looking at positions similar to the ones that you have or the ones that you've had should keep in mind when making realistic expectations?
That's a good one. So for me, I guess it would be just being adaptable to communication styles of different projects, because it also comes along with the culture of the studios that you would come across. For example, Nickelodeon is in a corporate setting, and they delve on a lot of kids' cartoons, a lot of kids' shows, and and a lot of youthful projects. But then for Titmouse, they work on a lot. They work both in kid TV shows and also adult content. And Nickelodeon, when I meet people, I had to talk a bit more formally, more professionally. And while I was used to it, there were moments where I felt like I wasn't quite my authentic self. But then when I came to Titmouse, I was in a bit of a culture shock because everyone talks so casually, and they also throw some swear words here and there, like it was just very, very relaxed while we still got our work done. And it was a really fun space to be in, just because the fact that everyone there was so passionate about what they do. Everyone was so connected. Everyone was very mingled with one another because of how small that space was. That studio was much smaller compared to Nickelodeon. And coming to Riot, that was also a bit of I had to like change the way that I talk just a little bit. I was still being my authentic self, but then the way that I talk was a little just different because it was a mixture of Nickelodeon and Titmouse. You have the professionalism and also the chill, laid back culture. It's a mixture of both. It's so easy to talk to everyone here, and I'm so grateful that I have that skill just to communicate. And something that I would always tell people is that make sure you know how to talk to different personalities. That's really, really important. Especially because when you go into animation, you come across people from different backgrounds, different experiences, and you have to tell yourself that like people don't communicate the way that you do all the time. You have to understand that person. You have to understand how they work, what they do, and as a production and also as someone within production management, you need to learn how to work with these people. You need to help them. You need to be there for them as support. You need to provide them resources. So, and then also in a sense, you also listen to them when they're feeling troubled. Give them a space to vent. You need to be that person. You need to be a people person. You have to understand how to talk to them. And even during difficult situations, you need to be very present. You have to be present in the room when talking to them. You need to learn how to read the room and how to execute certain things depending on what's going on in that space.
Thank you. That's a fantastic answer. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's super helpful just knowing like that besides the actual task you have to do, there is like the people aspect of just like knowing your audience and knowing the room and like knowing that like just like you, there's like other people who have needs and wants and questions or like things that like everybody genuinely needs, even though it is just a workspace. So thank you so much for providing that. We actually have two. I think Alice was first. So yeah, go ahead, Alice.
Yeah, hi Gloria. Thanks for coming. Super appreciate you sharing your experiences. I wanted to ask how you approached or like navigated the like career transition phase where you kind of hopped from project to project. I'm currently a PA, so I'm like my end date's a little bit further off, but I'm starting to like wonder how I should be approaching that.
Sure. Also out of curiosity, where are you currently working on?
Oh, I'm also working at Titmouse right now.
Oh, okay,
On
okay.
an unannounced show, so I can't.
Okay, cool. So the way that I approach in jumping from one project to another, it carries on from when you broke in. Network. You need to network with people. You need to connect with people. That's so, so important. It's a great skill to have, and it'll do you wonders. Especially in a space like Asians in Animation or like Rise of Animation, like all those community-based organizations. Connect with people within the industry, connect with people not in the industry either, like people who are trying to break in. The way that I got my opportunity at Titmouse was through my mentor at Rise of Animation. I stayed connected with her. It was really funny because I actually first synced up with her when I had my first one-on-one with her right when I started SpongeBob. And at the time, I wasn't really aware of the Legend of Vox Machina. But then when the first season came out, I was like, oh my gosh, it was really awesome. Congrats to you and your team. And funny thing was that after the first season came out, she reached out to me asking, hey, we're looking for a new PA for our show. Would you be interested? And after talking with her and learning more about the PA position within that specific project, I realized that, we realized that like, the pay didn't quite meet what I was currently getting. So then she said like, let's wait a little bit. Let me talk to my line producer, because it seems like the stuff that you were doing at SpongeBob is basically what a production coordinator does on our show. I hear back from her a few weeks later saying, hey, we got a PC opening coming up, would you be interested? So then from there, I had my interview, and then they gave me an offer that day of my interview. So I was like, oh my goodness, it's so fast. So always sync up with people, reconnect with people within your network, and just let them know like, hey, I'm just preparing ahead of time. I want to see if you are aware of any projects that are starting to be developed, or if you know anyone that might be looking for a PA or a PC for their show. And if you are unsure, if you feel ready for a PC role, talk to other people like myself or other professionals who are currently PCs, or even beyond, and just asking for their insight of like, what do you need to do to prepare to become a PC, or what can you do to become a stronger candidate as a PA and a PC, and to roll onto a PC role. Just stay in contact with them maybe like once a month, every few weeks, just ask them like, hey, how often should I connect with you about certain things? And it should go from there. And always ask this question too. Whenever I connect with new people, I always ask this, like, is there anyone that you know would be great for me to connect with? And from there, you'll continue to expand your network, and it'll keep that momentum going. That's something that I'm currently doing at Riot Games, because this company has thousands of people. I can't meet everyone here, and it's so important. I'm making a personal goal to meet at least like 2 or 3 people each week, just so that I can meet new people and just create like a good bubble of close coworkers and friends. So yeah, connect with people, ask that question so you can continue expanding your network.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Also, I'd like to say I'm a huge fan of Vox Machina. I haven't seen the second season yet because I'm a binger, so I'm waiting for it to all come out, but I'm so excited.
It'll get there.
I've heard there's dragons, and I'm so hyped.
There's always dragons.
Yeah, reaching out to people in networking was definitely something that like I thought was going to be something that like people would take the wrong way. In reality, people are so kind and people are so open to just like meeting you, and they're just like, no, like there's, as long as you don't have a hidden motive, they would love to meet you and get to network and meet new people. So that's something that like I definitely want to implement too. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it's ridiculously underrated and important. We have another question. You can go, Ace.
Hi. I'm really excited to meet you because I I guess I'm currently at like a crossroads right now. So I guess my question is like, how do you kind of um know like what you want to go into for the industry? Because I'm I'm just like super lost right now. So it's like, do I want to go into animation? Do I want to go into video games? And like where in those industries I would want to go into? Because a lot of advice I've received was like, oh, know where you want to go to and like aim for that. I'm just like, how do I know where I want to go to in the first place?
Yeah, that is something I definitely sympathize with that. I used to be in that position too. I know so many people who are in that position as well. So you are not alone in that endeavor. Coming into a crossroads of like where you want to go, it's a learning experience. It's also like what I mentioned previously with Alice's question of just like continue meeting new people, try to get their insight of like what their experience has been. But also at the same time, it's something that you need to try as well. You need to just give it a shot. If you're because another thing too is that you won't know unless you try it. And with animation and video games, it really depends on it really depends on what position you're trying to go for. Like, are you trying to pursue like an artistic position, or are you trying to go into like a production management position?
I'm more trying to go for an artistic position.
So for an artistic position, it also really depends on, or like for any position overall, it depends on the culture of the company or the studio that you're looking at. For example, I think a good question to ask yourself is, do you see yourself pursuing this one specific role in a long term, or do you see yourself jumping from one position to another within your career? Because the reason why I ask that is because certain studios allow people to jump from one position to the other, whereas for other companies, that's not it's kind of frowned upon, unfortunately. So you need to look into like what's okay, like what are the career opportunities that these studios offer? How can I climb up the ladder and grow as an artist? So like, for example, I'm only sharing my experience as within production management, but for example, at Nickelodeon, they're very open to people from production management to jump into an artistic role. They try to prepare you into rolling onto that position. Whereas for Disney, they're not too happy when that happens, just because they want to invest in people in this one specific role and help them build their way up on the ladder in that specific department. So learning about the career paths is really important. And also, and ask yourself, like, what do you find a lot of fulfillment in? What do you enjoy? What makes you happy? Because in the end, like, you're going to be doing this for a long time, for like most of your, like a good chunk of your life. So you want to make sure you're pursuing something that makes you happy, satisfied, fulfilled, and something that will constantly push you and challenge you and help you grow.
Also, if you choose something and you realize you don't like it, you don't have to keep doing it.
Yes.
You can change.
It's okay to say no.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the advice, and I'll definitely keep it in mind.
Yeah, and also if you come across like an opportunity and you're feeling uncertain, like, again, like, don't hesitate to, Jeremiah dropped my contact information. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to offer any insight. But in the end, with the advice that I give you, it's something that you take it with a grain of salt, and you have to make the ultimatum.
Okay, thank you so much.
Just to reiterate again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ping or raise your hand or anything. But I wanted to know, I was like, so was working in SpongeBob first help prep you for the learning curve for what it would be your job now? Or was there like moments you had to change your approach like so completely or just alter because of like this change from like one animation to a different type of animation that you're like, oh, okay, this is not, I need to turn off this part of my brain and approach it this way? Or yeah, or did you run into anyone who had that change? Because I mean, they're still different, but like, yeah.
SpongeBob really helped me a lot, just because SpongeBob's workflow format is very, I don't want to say outdated, but it's not like how current shows run. It's very traditional in a sense. They don't implement like 3D models or like 3D, like a hybrid of 3D and 2D, like how Arcane or like Vox Machina is. it's like the basics. You learn how to work with the basics. And because of how long that show has been going on for like more than 20 years, they have like a large archive for me to like just dig through, just to be more familiar with like the general basics of how a 2D show functions. And it helped me gain so much insight of like, oh, okay, so this is how they approach in designing props or characters, backgrounds, etc. And also like this is how they approach storyboarding. This is how they revise storyboard panels, or like this is how I will work with a script and make a breakdown. It gave me such an introduction to the nitty-gritty details of how things work within animation. Like I became more familiar with like shotgun / shot grid, FileMaker. I became more I was able to work on Photoshop a lot more comfortably. I taught myself prior, but then knowing how to be more efficient with the tools was something that I'm so grateful for. I still use it to this day, even though I don't use Photoshop as much as an administrative assistant. And then jumping into Vox Machina at Titmouse, that helped me so much because because of the background that I had on SpongeBob, like it was so transferable to Vox because I got lucky because they use FileMaker for everything and just like keeping track of like the progress of all their designs. And although they didn't use oh my god, Shotgun, they use like Sync Sketch, other various programs that I just learned about while coming into it. And it expanded my knowledge of like all the different things that people use as tools. And coming to Riot, although I am not using those specific tools, whenever I connect with people who come from like an animation background at Riot, I ask them, do you use these specific programs when you're working on something? And they're like, yeah, we do. So there's a lot of familiarity that I have when I jump onto different projects. So all the stuff that you learn, even through Asians in animation, if you're volunteering, like people use Airtable, Trello, like a lot of these workplace tracking programs, websites, we use it here too. Like it's used like all across, like it's more than you would think. So having familiarity with all those different programs is so convenient, and the fact that any knowledge that you carry can be transferable to wherever you go.
Yeah, I think even when it's like, I've come across this too, where it's like, even though certain jobs, like when I was applying to be in this job, I told them like, I was like, oh, I don't know how to do this, but I'm familiar with this program. And they're like, yeah, even though that's not the same exact thing, it just shows that like there's a little bit of familiarity, and then people are willing to take you in more when you have like had previous experience with something that's similar or in the same vein, and it makes it a little easier for them to be like, okay, you're transferable, you're more trainable because you know these certain things. And like, am I correct, or am I on the right path?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing too is that specifically within animation, and also kind of transfers to video games as well, is that a lot of these artists are working with programs like Photoshop. So that's kind of like at the core, or like Photoshop or Illustrator. And a new question that I came across was called Miroboard. I wasn't familiar with this until I came onto this job, but it's basically an online website that functions as Adobe Illustrator. So I was like, oh, wow, this is really convenient. This is really handy. So there's so much familiarity wherever you go. And even with like FileMaker, although like it functions like independently, like the hotkeys, the shortcuts that you use, like some of that could be transferable to other programs that you might be using. You may not expect it, but when you come across that moment, you'll be like, oh wait, it reminds me of this. So you have an easier time of learning and educating yourself.
Okay. Yeah, just like just knowing like what's at your disposal and then just like taking it all because like there's so much,
Exactly.
there's so many different tools and like someone can explain to me like oh, have you ever used this program? I'm like, no, but I'm willing to like learn about it because like it's just another weapon to your arsenal so you can be like a Swiss Army person.
Exactly. And always be curious to learn. Because if you're very open to just learning, like it will open so many doors for you too. And it could help you out in more ways than one.
We have a question from Kyle. Kyle wants to say, first of all, he wanted to thank you for coming on and giving all the super helpful advice so far. I was super excited when I told him that I mentioned that for a Riot Q&A, because he knows that I know that he's crazy about Runeterra. His question is, but I wanted to ask what was your day-to-day is like. Oh my gosh, I'm having a stroke. I wanted to ask what your day-to-day is like with your new role at Riot and what's your favorite part?
Okay. Also, thank you. I'm also playing Runeterra right now. That's like the only Riot game that I'm currently playing because Lee is so intimidating. And my boss said to straight up to me, he's like, hey, don't start with League of Legends. There's so many toxic people. If you want to play that, play Wild Rift, but play Legends of Runeterra because that's like the best way to start, especially if you're interested in the world building. Go for that one. And I like card games, so that's my sweet spot. But my day-to-day, it's very different. It changes all the time. And that's something that I actually am excited about because it allows me to be very flexible. It's a skill too, like being very flexible with anything that happens spontaneously. And the role that I have is so different from what I did as a production coordinator or as a PA, just because this is more of an executive assistant role. And I am managing the head of creative's calendar. I'm also helping out with miscellaneous tasks for the whole team of 40 people. I'm helping them out with any miscellaneous things, like if they need me to take notes or if they need me to help plan out like a specific event. Like I love doing those nitty-gritty things, so I enjoy those thoroughly. Just being available for these people is something that I am very happy about. And it's very different because there's a lot of space where there's a lot of downtime for me, but again, like it depends on what's going on a day-to-day basis. So like right now, my supervisor is currently out of the office. So I have this entire week of like, what should I do? So I keep asking the leadership below my supervisor, like, is there anything that you need to help out with? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. Can you help me out with this? So it gives me an opportunity to work closely with these individuals, and it allows me to be more familiar with them and just creates a deeper relationship with those individually. And another thing that I really enjoy is the fact, the best part for me is that, I guess two. One, I get to meet so many people, and I do have a battery life. I can't interact with everyone 24/7. So, but the fact that I get to meet these people and interact with them on a daily and just form new relationships and new bonds, that's something that I really, really enjoy here at Riot. The fact that people are so approachable, so easy to talk to, regardless of it being a very, very professional space. Like, for example, I can, like, no joke, my supervisor asked, like, hey, I need to I want to schedule a dinner with Christian, the showrunner of Arcane. Can you help me do that? So like, I just Slack, it's like, hey, Christian, it's Gloria. Magnus wants to have a dinner with you when he's in town. Are you free? I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. It's like, thanks. It's like, thanks. So I get to talk to so many people from various backgrounds, from various projects, and that's something that I enjoy so much. And number two, I will not get yelled at for playing games. I will not get yelled at, and that's something that I am very happy about. Even I'm trying to play more games because of this now. But yeah, it's like, I won't get mad. Just play League of Legends, play Legends of Runeterra. Like, I do not mind, because like, it's important for me too, as an employee of Riot, to be familiar with the IPs, with the projects that they work with. And I don't know if I can play Valorant because I get major anxiety with first person shooter games, but I'm gonna try to make the effort into just playing those. And it's a great way to bond with other people as well. It's really, really awesome.
I love, yeah, it's that's one of those moments where it's just like, you're like, wow, this is like so surreal. I get to talk to like the creative arcade or like, and it's just easy as just like messaging them on something that like we've all probably used before, like, or just like on our instant messages like Slack or anything like that. And it's just a great way to just like be able to bond and interact with people. And like it's one of those moments you never fully like grasp because it's like, it's so interesting. Um, Christian has a question. Love this talk. Love this talk, Gloria. How do you balance understanding / keeping up with the different softwares, pipelines, and techniques across both industries?
So when I first started on SpongeBob, just because I was now learning about these different programs, especially FileMaker, because I only knew of FileMaker through word of mouth, but then I never actually got an opportunity to just like touch it. So I took a lot of notes when I first started out. Notes will be your best friend and just me retaining this information. So take as many notes as you can in the beginning, and even like with any new program, I always take notes no matter what, because you always learn something new every day, and whatever I learned in the past could be valuable for me in the future. So each person works differently, but for me, I retain things a lot better by physically writing things and typing. Usually, let's say for me personally, maybe there's a specific workflow that I'm learning. And this happened in Vox Machina too, where I was having a bit of a pain point in learning the specific workflow that was very unique to the show. I took notes. I even had an opportunity to just reiterate it back to my coworker who was training me. But there were a lot of points where I was kind of struggling with, and I did get frustrated. So what I did was, so that I can actually retain everything, I got what I wrote, I got what I typed, and I actually physically wrote everything down just so that I can retain it a lot better. Because I adapted to retaining information by typing, but then if I'm struggling, I go back to just physically writing stuff. Figure out what works best for you. I'm just sharing what works best for me. But as what I stated previously, when you become more familiar with these different programs, you'll gain a familiarity of like how they function. So there's going to be a lot of transferable things as you continue learning more and more stuff. But if you come across something that you're kind of struggling with, go to your method of retaining the information. Have a plan B, have a plan A, have a plan B, and just keep repeating. Keep repeating it, because that's one of the best ways for you to just retain and have that muscle memory.
Alice asks, do you have advice for graduating college seniors on balancing school and classwork and putting together a portfolio / networking / etc.? Currently super stressed, trying to stay focused on everything at once. Crying emoji.
That is really tricky. And I really, honestly, for everyone for just going through life, I commend you guys, because it's not easy. But specifically for college, since you're wearing a lot of hats, you have a lot on your plate. If it helps you, go on your calendar. If you use Google Calendar or if you use a physical planner, book out times, book out focus times on what you can do. So let's say you have 3 classes in one day, and you have like 3-hour gaps in between those classes. How do you want to utilize that time? How do you want to be efficient with that time? What you can do is, like, for example, set 1 hour to focus on like writing cold emails or messages through LinkedIn. You can block another hour of just focusing on like going on your sketchbook or just practicing how to draw anatomy or something. And you can book another time of just like take a break, because breaks are important. Don't grind so much. Make sure you take breaks, because if you're not working at your 100%, I see you guys, I see those laughs, I see those smiles. Make sure you take breaks. That's so important. Okay. If you're not at your 100%, you're not gonna do good. Make sure that you recharge and be at your 100%. It's so, so important. Don't burn out. Good. But yeah, if you want to be efficient with your time, just block out times in your calendar and your planner, and just so that you can like just be in that zone. That's what helped me, and that's something that I'm actually helping my supervisor, because his calendar is booked back to back from 9 to 6. And his only break usually is lunch, which is an hour. But for me, I'm like, I ask myself this question: when does he go to the bathroom? When does he drink water? Like, no, those are actual questions that I ask, and it's really important because you got it. But and also like I feel like he gets burnt out at certain times in the day. So I'm helping him out by creating more structure, boundaries in his calendar to make sure that he's at his 100%, so that he can clock. So when he clocks out in the day, he can just spend time with his family, have fun with his kids, and just enjoy life. That's the thing. So set boundaries for yourself. Set boundaries for yourself when you accomplish these certain tasks. And if you need to take a break, take a break. Listen to your body. Take care of yourself. Be healthy.
Taking breaks. I don't know her. I'm sorry. Ace asks, are your DMs open? Save
Yes,
fun.
please feel free to reach out to me on my socials. I do not bite. Like, I love meeting new people. So if I can help you guys in any way or offer you advice, like, please reach out to me. I try my best to reply at a reasonable time, but life happens. So please do not be discouraged if I don't reply within a couple days. Like, it differs, but I try my best to reply as soon as I can.
Yeah. And if anyone didn't get this information, or if you forget it, that's totally understandable. I'll make sure to put in the general chat so that way everyone can reach out to Gloria as well. It's 8:03. I just want to say thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. And we really appreciate your time, Gloria. It was such a lovely talk. I'm so glad you were able to make it. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much. It was so fun being here, and also just seeing the muted reaction was really fun. But yeah, I'm glad that some of this information was really helpful for you guys. And again, like, reach out to me at any time, and don't be a stranger.
Yeah, of course. Thank you everyone for coming. You are feel free to leave. The bell does not dismiss you. You can leave.
Bye. Thank you for coming.
Bye. Thank you everyone for
Take
coming.
care, everyone.
Thank you so much.